Welcome to Unity of Wilmington's virtual service. My name is Myron McNeil. Thank you for being here with us today. We have a guest speaker from Unity of Triangle in Raleigh-Durham area, the Reverend Anna Quintana. Welcome, we're glad to have you back. She's going to guide us to an expanded understanding of the truth of who we are. We want to remind you of three important truths. One, that you are a beloved expression of God. The divine is dancing through you and I, beloved. Two, you have a holy purpose, and that purpose shows up as love in our everyday life. And three, you're always in the right place at the right time, right now. What a beautiful knowing to live by.
Misunderstood. They say we stand for nothing and there's no way we ever could. Now we see everything that's going wrong in the world with those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. So we keep waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep waiting, waiting on the world to change. It's hard to beat the system when you're standing at a distance. We keep waiting, waiting on the world to change. Now if we had the power to bring our neighbors home from war, they would have never missed a Christmas. No more ribbons on the door. But when you trust your television, what you get is what you got. Cause when they own the information, oh, they can bend it all they want. That's why we're waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep waiting, waiting on the world to change. It's not that we don't care, but we just know that the fight ain't fair. Waiting, waiting on the world to change. Change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. And one day our generation is gonna rule the population. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. Yeah, we keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change, waiting on the world to change, waiting on the world to change, waiting on the world to change.
Wow, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Paul and Katie, John, and Justin, and everybody here. Thank you, beloved ministers who have given me this opportunity to be with all of you this morning. As Myron said, I am Reverend Anna Quintana, currently the Associate Minister at Unity of the Triangle in Raleigh. And what a great song, Waiting on the World to Change, which is really, couldn't help but think of Gandhi, be the change that you want to see in the world. We are it. The world's meant to change. It's meant for us to change. That's the essence of that quote. And talking about change, well, recently I had a good friend of mine, we were having a spiritual conversation, and she says, Anna, what would you say it's the hardest challenge for you in life? And as I heard the question, my answer was really dealing with change. Change can be the scariest experience because things are not the way we have been used to having, and that can elevate our vulnerability. Still, change is unavoidable. And even if the mind and the ego might say it otherwise, we need to understand that change is part of life and that change is good. Change is the catalyst for nourishing of our soul. And for me in particular, probably with many of you, we could just get used to life as is, and when we're bringing into a different experience, our tendency is to stay where what we know, what we control, and going into the unknown is like, no. Change, it's also the only constant in this universe. And even during these pandemic times, you would have to agree with me that change has been part of every human being experience on the planet, both internally and externally. I don't think we could say there's one single person right now in the planet who have not gone through accelerated change of some sort. And each one of us, we're dealing with it the best way possible. Of course, we can label that change as negative or positive depending on our level of experience or our level of consciousness. I am the associate minister, like I said, at the Unity of the Triangle in Raleigh. And as of some years ago, I started a Spanish ministry. And during this pandemic, I actually managed to have like a hybrid retreat. And after we were done with the retreat, one of the retreat congregants came to my office. I'm bringing this story because it really exemplifies how challenging change can be, especially when we're dealing with it at internal level. Times where external things haven't really changed that much, but there's something in us that is not there anymore, and we feel lost. So this girl, Jareth, she came to my office and she says, Reverend Anna, I really need to have you recommend a book that can just help me figure out what's going on with me. And I said, Jareth, what's going on with you? And she says, I just, as you know, I was going through a legal process of becoming documented in the US, and as the pandemic hit, I was sent back to Mexico for a whole year, having to leave my children and my business, and finding out that as I came back, even though things were not that bad externally, there's something that is not clicking in me. Now, in order for you to understand more about this lady, she's 31, need to just fill you in with some of her life, because she's one of my heroines. She's really a woman of power. She was born and grew up in Mexico in a really poor neighborhood. She went through extreme poverty conditions to the point where her mom ultimately abandoned her, and she became a street girl. As she survived, she lived almost 3 years out there. She was sharing with me how she would sleep on the road or in cemeteries and just beg out for food. Somebody approached her and said that she could maybe come to America and live the American dream. And she believed that, but it was really, she was able to make it to America through essentially human trafficking conditions. Ultimately, she managed to get out of that, meets a man 20 years older than her, have some children. This is probably like in her late teens. Always with a vision about becoming somebody, becoming educated. She had just made it through her 6th grade. And ultimately, she starts learning and reading about positive thinking and life core, let's say, ideas of greatness and progress. And she becomes one of the best known motivational speakers here in North Carolina and the Latino community. So she went, let's say, from rags, story to a greater place, still going back to Mexico and finding out that she could not heal her relationship with her mother and being in a hotel for months and going into this most deep depression she's ever had. When she came back, she could not find herself. She says, my kids are fine. The business that I set up in doing motivational talks and conferences is fine. Still, there's something that is not clicking. You probably have found yourself in a situation like that where even though circumstances might still pretty much be the same, there's something in you that you're not finding yourself. We need to understand that the underlying probably energy in that experience is fear. Fear because the old maps that used to guide our way are not there anymore. We are in the midst of what I like to say is the land of the unknown, what this lady, author Joan Borinsenko says. It's that period of meantime where this is no more and not yet. And we just like to cope, like to understand, but we feel really lost. We can't pinpoint what it is, but we need to understand that there's an inner urge at the soul level that it's wanting to come through in you, not in world standards, but in God's standards. This desire to be more, to understand more, to express more. And to me, Jared's experience is really our own, where we know that our answer, like Jared was telling me, I know it's something spiritual, but I just don't know how to go there. And many of us have been so busy in life, in the race of doing to have, having to do, and putting the beingness part so away of us, that going within and exploring what's really going on could be really scary and very unfamiliar. But the soul doesn't care. The soul knows that it has signed up to come to this earthly experience to gain something, to express something beyond our humanity. It's like as divine beings that we are, there's a thirst to know our divinity. The Indian saint Meheraba puts it really beautifully. There's an impetus in the absolute to become conscious of itself. The progressive manifestation of life through evolution is ultimately brought about by the will to be conscious, which is inherent in the infinite. So we need to understand that spirit will push us by creating major discomfort, that we could overlook it for a while and say, until we get to the point that we say, I just can't not hold it anymore. And then we go into what I, in my own experience, I have seen, like what the mystics say, is the dark night of the soul. In colloquial terms, and this is something that, as a Hispanic woman, Puerto Rican, I never say that, and not even in church, but this is how it feels. This sucks. It's literally a death. It's a death to the old way of living, which dying to the old is one of the characteristics of growth. There's this Unity minister, Reverend Bronner, who wrote a book, Finding Yourself in Transition. And he says, to live is to grow is to change, and to change is to die to the old. So unfortunately, it does involve pain many times. And then our resistance amplifies it. That's why the Buddha would say that we suffer not because of change, but because of our resistance to change. So then it's like, how can I experience change, and how can I embrace it in such a way that the gift that is there waiting for it to come through can really come through? It really means that I'm growing. It really means that I've been given the opportunity to elevate myself to a higher place in awareness. That's the potential. That's what the change is saying. Hey, there's more for you. And it's, like I said before, it's triggered by that impetus of divinity to know itself in us. Bromet says, transitions may be uncomfortable, yet they are always meaningful. It is a time where the old order of our life is disrupted. It is a time where our old way of being is disturbed. It may be even a time when our sense of reality is challenged. Though painful, this can be significant times in our lives. Times of transition are wonderful opportunities, listen to this one, to gain strength and wisdom and experience spiritual breakthroughs. I love when he says that transitions may provide the breakthrough necessary to live an entirely different life, not just the old life in a new way, but an entirely new life. Besides, we need to change so that the soul can acquire the insight and the self-realization that is a must in our spiritual growth process. Are you here with me? I know I'm looking at the camera, but I got people here, but I know we're connecting. Besides, we need to change so that the soul, let me give you a quote by Jean Houston, who puts it beautifully. Take a moment with me to breathe in and breathe out. And place yourself in a time where you have really gone through a change that you have resisted and that has been implied pain. And now listen to this quote. In times of suffering, when you feel abandoned, perhaps even annihilated, there is something occurring at levels deeper than your pain. The entry of the sacred, the possibility of redemption. Wounding opens the doors of our sensibility to a larger reality, which is blocked to our habituated and conditioned point of view. Suffering, I love this one, gives us eyes and ears to see and hear what our normal eyes and ears cannot. So then the message, really the core essence of what I would like to share today is like, what if we say, I'm going to become an expert in managing change? I can be excited about change even when I don't see how it's going to turn out. It's about embracing change. Because the more I resist it, the more it's going to make me suffer. But like the saying says, whatever we resist persists, and whatever I embrace transforms. So if I embrace change, there's the potential of great transformation. And then you say, okay, but great, sounds beautiful. Give me something that I can work with. How can I embrace change? And you know what? I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to ask you to understand that change will always be a process. And a process is a change that occurs over a period of time. Living in a fast food world, in an Amazon Today delivery, is something we don't like to hear. We want things to be now, right? But a process has certain elements that must occur in the right time and in the right order. Trying to force our personal will can be so counterproductive. It's like imagine a flower forced to blossom. It can really kill the flower. Or imagine attempting to make a child walk or talk prematurely can have a negative effect on the psyche of that child. Because like Bromett says, anytime we violate a natural process, we do damage and inflict suffering. So what is the recommendation then? Working with any process requires us to be willing, listen to this one, to be willing to trust divine wisdom and divine order inherent within the process. And to me, this is so important for everybody to understand that I would like for you to think for yourself. If you're going through change right now, or anybody that you might know, bring them to this space and start with you. Let's do the unity way, which is affirmations. And we can say, I am willing to trust divine wisdom and divine order in my process of change. Hold that with me. I am willing to trust divine order and divine wisdom in this process of change. Now bring that other person who might be going through whatever change and bring them into your heart space. I have so many friends who are going through cancer treatments. Bring them here with me. And I'm holding. You're willing to trust divine wisdom and divine order in your own process of change. Bring all the people that you love. And let's bring in all the committee here of Unity of Wilmington as you're reopening soon. Imagine everybody, Nikki, Mindy, the board, all volunteers, congregants, members. Place them here. Right now, this is an empty space physically, but we're feeling their energy. We're feeling your energy here. And we are affirming, we are willing to trust divine order and divine wisdom in our process of change. And you know what's going to happen? That when we trust change, we're going to be led to a sacred destination if we cooperate with it and we trust it. And then you say, okay, so it's key for me to trust the process of change. How do I do that? Ask yourself, how, if trusting the natural process of a change is key to bringing all the wonderful things of the change in me and outside of me, how do I do that? And my answer to myself was, there's no other way in my opinion, than the spiritual practice. Why? Because we tend to be run by our habits, our patterns that can really interfere with that process. But when we go into the practice and we shut down a little our humanity and bring the divinity in us, then hopefully we listen, we pay attention, and we can be truly led as to what is ours to do or not do, and have our divine and human intervention in a perfect dance, really allowing for that new chapter of evolution and good to come forth, because we are in connection. And even our old self might be, hey, this is trouble. Your higher self is saying, trust it, let it be. It's all unfolding according to your highest good. Believe me, I've been 10 years here in North Carolina, originally from Puerto Rico. And if I could, that might be subject for another talk, but my life is so completely different from what 10 years ago was. I have gone through significant change, which has brought me many times to fear, to the unknown. But as I have allowed it to be, learn from the experience, what I'm seeing more and more, it's really beauty and possibilities that had I stayed in what I had known and had seen to be my secure place, I would have never experienced. So the aftermath of a change that is welcome, embrace, is really freedom, meaning, joy, and much good. Are you there with me? Hold it here. The world is going through a lot of change. I think this pandemic has really brought in the space in which the new chapter of our human evolution will be. And we're only this together. So as we individually are willing to navigate with it more, we're going to co-create the world of higher good that's always in potential by the divine for its creation. Thank you for sharing this space with me this morning. And now we will take all of this wisdom and energy into a space of meditation. So join me at this time to meditate with me. Thank you so much once again. And let's take a short moment of silence. To let whatever idea might have resonated with you this morning to go deeper in you. We come to this place in awareness that reminds us that we're always being called to a higher expression of ourselves. To greater abundance, greater freedom, joy. Like Rumi the poet would say, the good that you are seeking is seeking you. That good is always knocking at your door. But it has to conquer your ego, your habits, your sense of what security and safety look like. And that's where we start feeling this restlessness. That even though I think that this is the way life should be and my life should be, there's a force that is saying, no, it's some other way. And it might be experienced as conflictive and fearful. And we might feel that, oh gosh, I'm standing on quicksand. But please trust. Trust with all of your heart. That you will never be put through an experience that you are not ready for. And that in you are all the tools and powers to not only survive the change, but to thrive through it all, to a higher place in awareness, to a better life. Can you open yourself to that idea? And then look at all the changes and circumstances that you might have rejected and resisted. As blessings in disguise that are only waiting for a mind and a heart to say yes. I trust. I surrender. I let it be. I welcome it. I let it unfold. And the way to really be able to do that is by going within and listening and letting Spirit show me, calm me, open me. See yourself on the other side of the change. In a new life, new energy, new possibilities that were created just for you. keep this affirmation for your day. I am willing to trust divine order and divine wisdom in my process of change. I am willing to trust divine wisdom and divine order in my process of change. And as I trust, I open the doors. I open my heart. And I celebrate and be thankful for what I might have rejected that was specifically designed for me. For my highest good. I am so grateful. I am so open. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Amen.
Looking for an exit in this world of fear. I can see the path that leads the way. I never left, my family needs me here. I wish the wind would carry a change. Looking through a window to a world of dreams. I can feel my future slip away. I know I won't get there if I don't believe. I wish the wind would carry a change. I've had enough, I'm standing up. I need a change. I've had enough of chasing luck. I need a change. I'm setting fire to the life that I know. Let's start a fire everywhere that we go. We're starting fires till our lives are burning gold. Till our lives are burning gold. Looking for a ticket to a higher place. I can see my past begin to fade. One step forward and two back again. I wish the wind would carry a change. I've had enough, I'm standing up. I need a change. I've had enough of chasing luck. I need a change. I'm setting fire to the life that I know. Let's start a fire everywhere that we go. We're starting fires till our lives are burning gold. Till our lives are burning gold.
You have an opportunity to be an agent for change. If you've been touched, moved, or inspired by the music, the meditation, or the message of truth that you've heard today, you can go to our website, unityofwilmington.com, and we accept your generosity with Venmo, write a check, or Facebook. can be an agent for change. I'm willing to be an agent for change in the process, the divine process today.
The back I see, I had the change in me. I'm the wind that's carrying change.